Have you ever had that client who has a massive breakthrough and you're both so excited because you think that maybe this is the end to their suffering? That maybe this is going to be the moment where they break through and they begin to change their life completely. And then they come back the next week and they're talking about literally the same thing. And I know it's natural, that 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It is part of how we grow as human beings. But what if there were a better way? I mean, what is integration anyway? Key number 4 in our system to unlock this nervous system and find the force beyond the breakthrough is the force, right? Why doesn't breakthrough mean change? Why doesn't a breakthrough and an understanding of the problem change lives? I mean, we don't even have to talk about our clients to get into this. We can look at ourselves in the mirror. How many times have I had an insight about myself and then gone and done the same thing over? You ever have that friend again, or your child who, sorry to talk about children, that's personal, right? But we all have children, we all have families, we all have those family members and friends who, what? They talk about a problem, they identify it, you agree that it's going to be different, and then it doesn't change. What is that? So, neuroscience shows that repeated regulation practices strengthen neural pathways associated with resilience. Again, back to the analogy of the arroyos. When you run water through a certain channel, let's say you divert the headstream up here and you move that water pattern over to another channel, maybe to irrigate some beautiful fields on the top with corn, beans, and squash. Yum, yum, right? Your thing of choice. You're going to cultivate a new space instead of that water just washing off and causing floods. You're going to divert it to something more productive. That is an example of integration. Integration is what your client takes back with them and actually implements in their life. Whew, boy, is that only like 1%? What percentage of the people that you're dealing with are actually integrating their insights from your office into their life and making lasting change? I would love to hear the answer to that. That's also why we have this therapist lab, is so that we can come together and we can talk about these concepts, we can swap notes, and I can actually share with you these tools. We can practice them together. It's really important. This is different than continuing education because you're not going to just sit and look at a book and check off boxes and then cha-ching, get your credits. This is not like that. These are real tools that you can take into the real world and make lasting change. And let's face it, practitioners need good reviews to get their lists filled, right? If you want to book everything out, the one client that gets this amazing change is going to bring you more clients, right? You don't have to worry about losing them because when somebody sees how much better they're getting, they're going to be like, I'll have what they're having, right? Plus, the Google reviews, the good feels, the reduction of stress and weight on your shoulders because this structure is now bearing the load for you. Just like any good structure, it has 4 keys, and each one of these keys together unlocks another thing, which I call the force. But all 4 of these things have to be there. When we practice this stuff together in an immersive setting, we also give you a story to hang it from. We help you to create baskets or categories in your mind. In Native culture, it's called the medicine wheel, but of course, I wouldn't want to take someone else's system and appropriate it. I was given permission to work with this system, but also I wanted to translate it into stuff that your modern person can understand just right off the bat. So we have an actual journey. Studies show, and in my doctoral dissertation, I did research and I found out that the reason why we use stories in traditional culture is because the brain is able to hold very large concepts when it's wrapped in a story. You can actually learn 300 to 400 times faster with immersive play rather than just reading it. So it's important for you as the practitioner to actually experience this on a deep level and integrate it viscerally so that it's something that you own. Because we're only just creating these containers for you. We're giving you a kind of a sketchwork, a map, and a framework for this system with 4 keys. We're giving you an immersive experience, and we want you to be able to take this back with you. But you'll have a list of 5 to 10 things in each one of these 4 key categories that you can use and you can choose from a la carte. You can add your own stuff to those categories, things that you're really good at, things that really work for you and your special clientele, right? But until you have these 4 keys and containers to put that stuff in, kind of like the categories in a library, where would you put the books? You know, the anthropology section is different than the sports section. So we have these 4 different sections that correspond to 4 different brains, and they also correspond to the 4 different stages of this journey to Diamond Island. So, what is this? Why is this unique? Because in systems all over the world, they do regulation first. And when they do regulation first, they usually have a sound, a story, an experience. When you have an experience, it's like already having a roadmap and knowing where you're going on the road trip. So we all hop in this car together and we go to a place called Diamond Island, right? You're going to really enjoy this. I tell people this is like the meow wolf of sound journeys. I studied with an absolute master of shamanism for 20 years in the Southwest. Patricio Dominguez was featured in that movie Spirit Molecule by Rick Strassman. Dr. Strassman was given the first variance, the first permission after the acid tests by the NIH in the 70s. And he was given permission to do these tests at UNM. And the book that came from it was called DMT Spirit Molecule. And Joe Rogan was actually the host. He became famous as the host of this movie. My elder, who is an internationally renowned activist and spiritual leader with Native Americans across the planet, and is still organizing these conferences, which we're going to talk about in the last video, all of our supplemental stuff and our conference coming up in the Southwest. All right. He discovered in his journeys that the most important thing that you can do is to regulate the nervous system. He told me again and again that your experience is only going to be as good as your nervous system allows for. So, I have this amazing soundscape for you, which is much like a psychedelic assisted journey, but without the plant medicine. This is a safe way to get into altered states yourself and to access these different states of consciousness, which allow you to get out of that gridlock of having your brakes on at the same time as your gas pedal and high RPMs. Once you unlock that through this sound journey, which is engineered so that you can actually use this, it's a 35-minute journey. And each one of these stages in this production takes you through a different brain and a different aspect of your consciousness safely. Helps people with symbolic language. It helps people with regulation. It helps people to use their mind and understand that they have different aspects to their consciousness. So, with this beautiful bright sunset going down, this is Dr. Courtney, and I will see you in the final video so we can talk a little bit more about our offerings.